Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Dee, your professional investor. And today I want to welcome you to our show. We have a special guest with us today, Mr. Desi ARNAZ. He is joining us today to give us some insights on our rescue series on note investing. And so today our discussion is going to be on the medical rescue. How he's going to inform us on how individuals can be able to have a more secured retirement plan and not a hopeful plan. Thanks, Mr. Desi, for joining
Hello
us.
there, Dee. How you doing, doctor?
I am well. I'm well.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much for having me on your program today.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
And so
I
today,
always enjoyed speaking with you.
likewise, likewise. So for our audience, because this is fairly new to many of our audience, what exactly is note investing?
Well, let me answer that question by giving you a little bit of background, and then it'll kind of make sense, okay? Um, Basically, a promissory note is just an IOU. So I don't want your audience to get like overwhelmed with thinking, oh my goodness, this is something that I don't know about. It's just an IOU, and an IOU is just a piece of paper that someone writes down, writes on there, hey, I owe you money, and I agree to pay you, right? That in and of itself is a promissory note. It could be written on the side of a banana. It doesn't really matter, but it's written. That's the point. And so when you're buying a piece of real estate, Dee, what happens is if you're paying cash, it's a very simple transaction. You give the cash to the seller of the real estate, and they give you two things. They give you the deed to the real estate, and they give you keys to the property. And then that's it. The deal's done, right? However, if you're not paying cash for the real estate, then you need to borrow that money from someplace like a bank or a mortgage company. And when you do that, they're going to have you sign two documents. Now, they have you sign all kinds of other documents, but the two primary documents that matter, they're going to have you sign a promissory note, basically where you say, I agree to pay you back the money that you're lending me. And then they're going to have you also sign something called a mortgage. A mortgage is a document that says, if I don't pay you back, you can take my house. And so when we say investing in mortgage notes, what we're talking about is buying those two documents to where literally we step into the bank's or the mortgage company's shoes, and every month the homeowner makes their monthly payments to us instead of to the mortgage company or the bank. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of
Yeah.
sense. That's amazing. So now here's my question for you, because we're doing our medical series, rescue series today. What are three benefits for medical personnels? How can this benefit them in three ways?
And medical personnel, meaning people that work in the medical profession.
Yes, exactly. Doctors, lawyers, attorneys, phlebotomists, not
Okay.
attorneys, but phlebotomists,
Okay.
you know,
Sure. Sure.
CNAs.
Well, your question is how can this benefit them? Well, here's my primary answer for that. They'll get a chance to put their money to work in an investment vehicle that doesn't go backwards, and it's also passive, and that provides cash flow each month. So it's safe, provides cash flow, and doesn't go backwards. And here's why I say it doesn't go backwards. You know, when you're investing in the stock market, stocks can go up or down, right? Up or down.
Absolutely.
But when you're a lender, like we are, when we buy a mortgage note, we are basically the lender to the homeowner, right? We're their mortgage company. Every single day, what they owe you goes up, not down, because every day interest gets added to the balance. It doesn't go backwards, and it's contractual, Dee. They have to. That's what the contract calls for. Daily interest until they pay you back. And so it's a great way to invest money and know what you're going to get rather than crossing your fingers in the stock market or the gold or any other markets and saying, I hope that when I'm ready to retire, I hope the market's up when I retire. You know, this way you know what it's going to be.
So a more predictable plan.
Absolutely. It's predictable. You know, something else I like about it too, Dee, is this. I like the fact that I know what my return is going to be. You know, in the stock market, you may have a 20% return, you may have a 20% loss, right? You
Mhm.
don't know. But in this space, you know what it's going to be. If you buy a mortgage note that's yielding 12%, then you're going to make 12%.
Mm.
You know, if it's yielding 8%, you're going to make 8%. You don't have to wonder about that. And so I like that. But best of all, I like the fact that in this space, you have the mortgage, which basically means this: either you're going to get your money back with interest, or you're going to get the real estate. And so the key to buying a mortgage note is to make sure that the real estate is far more valuable than what you've invested. For example, if I was going to invest $80,000 to buy a mortgage note, I want to make sure that house is worth at least $100,000. So if I did get the house back, not only am I going to get my $80,000 back, but I could actually make a $20,000 gain on top of that, a windfall profit, right? So that's a really, really secure way to invest money.
Sounds more like a hidden gem to me.
It is.
All right. So next question is, how can medical individuals utilize, what can they utilize to invest in this vehicle? Can they use their IRAs or their 401, 403Bs, their,
Mhm.
what exactly can they use?
Well, we can always use good old-fashioned cash. If they are sitting on some money, um, they can use that money to buy or to invest in mortgage-backed notes. However, Didi, I'd like to say this. If they're not trained on how to properly vet a mortgage note, they shouldn't invest in mortgage notes alone. They should invest with a partner, someone like yourself, right? Who's been trained, who knows how to find notes, and who knows how to vet those notes, and who knows how to manage that whole process, including the exit, who understands how to go through the foreclosure process if the homeowner doesn't pay, who
Mhm.
understands the collection rules and the collection processes along the way, right?
Absolutely. Hmm.
So my advice to people that are looking for a good place to put their money is, yes, invest in notes, but do it passively by partnering with someone who's active in the space, right? Someone who is an active investor.
Mm,
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with that because
yeah,
it can have some twists and turns, right?
right, right. Yeah, and if you don't know what you're doing, right? Warren Buffett says, invest in what you understand.
Hmm.
Okay. And so if you're not going to take the time to get a deep understanding of mortgage-backed notes, then you need to get a good understanding of the person that you're planning to invest with and what their character is like and what their skill sets are like, right? And then you just literally invest in those people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
many of us invest in the stock markets and we don't understand how it works?
It's pitiful. I did. I
I
put
did
some money
too.
in the market.
Guilty.
Yeah. In the
Guilty.
90s, I put cash in the markets just saying only because people kept saying you should, right? I've been investing
Hmm.
in real estate since 1982. But during the 90s, everybody's like, you need to be in the market, right? So I put some money in the stock market and watched it go away really quick. As a matter
Absolutely.
of fact, one of the companies I invested in literally went out of business and I lost every dime that I invested in that company, you know? So it was a wake-up call to me. It's like, okay, stick with what you know, right? And most
Absolutely.
people give their money to their stockbroker or their financial advisor, and they cross their fingers and say, please don't lose my retirement money. Please don't lose it.
Yeah.
You know, but you were asking the question earlier, what can people use? Obviously, they can use their savings, but they can also use their retirement accounts to invest in this. If a person has an IRA, it can be invested in this. If a person has a solo 401k, maybe they're self-employed, right? They can invest it in this space. If they have some sort of a health savings account, they can invest it in this space. Um, if you have equity, some of the advice that I'm suggesting to people is, look, property values are about to start falling. As a matter of fact, in some parts of the country, property values are already falling. If you're sitting on equity in a piece of real estate, you are literally watching your equity go up in thin air. You're watching it happen. And you can stop that by taking that equity from that real estate. Now it's hard dollars. It's no longer equity. Now it's hard dollars. You can take those dollars and invest those dollars into something like mortgage-backed promissory notes. And now this equity that was going to disappear on you is now actually earning you money. And if you can borrow your equity, for example, at 6 or 8%, which you can do today, and you can put that money to work at a higher return than that, then you can actually earn the spread. Isn't that what banks do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We deposit our money in the bank account and they pay us whatever, let's say 5%, and then someone comes into the bank and says, I want to borrow money to buy a car, they say, okay, that'll be 18%. And they make the spread
Hmm.
on our money. And I'm
Exactly.
simply saying, why aren't we doing that?
Hmm.
That's just financially intelligent, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do a case study, but we're going to do that in part two of our series. And Mr. Desi, thank you so much for joining us. We will be
My
right
pleasure.
back with part two on our case study, just for everyone to see how this really works and how you too can take advantage of this opportunity.
Fantastic.